Welcome to the deep dive. We take the sources you send us, dig in, and pull out the key stuff so you can get informed, fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Today, we're tackling something really interesting based on a document one of you shared. It's called 011 Building and Nurturing Your Support Team.pdf.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going deep, trying to understand how to, really connect with the people backing your work.
It's a great topic. And this material, it offers a really powerful way to look at those relationships, especially for mission work, but really any field that needs support.
Right.
Our listener, probably like a lot of you, wants that knowledge efficiently, wants those aha moments, but definitely wants to avoid information overload.
Totally. So we're cutting through the noise.
Focusing on what truly matters here.
And what jumped out at me right away is how this source just flips the script on support.
How so?
Well, it's less about that constant ask for donations, and much more about building real, lasting connections.
Okay, so moving beyond just collecting checks.
Exactly. Forget contributions. Let's talk cultivation. Cultivating actual relationships.
Precisely. And that's our mission for this deep dive, really.
Yeah.
Exploring that idea. Seeing supporters as, well, as partners, as co-laborers.
Co-laborers, I like that.
The document argues pretty strongly that this shift, it leads to greater impact, more sustainability long-term.
So not just about the money.
No, not at all. It's about building a whole support ecosystem, a resilient one, where finance is just like one part of a bigger picture.
Okay, let's dive in then. The source makes a really sharp contrast, doesn't it, between that traditional view and this partnership thing?
It does. It calls the usual method sort of transactional, like ask, receive, repeat, a loop.
Yeah, I know that loop.
But it also flags the downsides, the real costs of thinking that way.
And it's not just about unpredictable income, is it?
No, that's what's fascinating. The document points to these hidden costs. It talks about attrition, people just dropping off, feeling maybe a bit used, and fatigue, for the person always asking, and for the supporters who might start feeling like, well, like ATMs.
Right, just a source of funds.
And crucially, it argues this transactional way leads to shallow connections. They just don't deepen.
Okay, so this is where the source offers that fresh angle. Instead of just a list of names and, dollar amounts.
It encourages seeing a living body, engaged partners, people who are prayed for, valued, involved.
And it asks some really thought-provoking questions.
Yeah, like what if communication wasn't just checking a box? What if it was actually for discipleship, for sharing a vision?
Discipleship through communication. Interesting.
And what if nurturing wasn't about pressure for money, but about offering like real pastoral care, supporting them too?
That makes so much sense, especially now. The document says, in this age of information overload, those old transactional ways just don't cut it anymore. Passion's great, but it needs that genuine connection to last.
Absolutely. And connecting that to the bigger picture supporters today, they're savvy, they're discerning.
They want to see the impact.
They want authenticity, clear impact, and a real sense their involvement matters.
So the source suggests long-term success isn't just the pitch or the newsletter.
Right. It's the conversation. An ongoing, intentional, relational conversation. A dialogue, not just appeals.
Okay, so this isn't just feel-good advice. The document actually roots this whole partnership idea theologically. It starts with the Trinity.
It does. It's pretty profound, actually. The Trinity, three persons, co-equal, united in purpose, in love, is presented as the ultimate pattern, the model for community and partnership.
And it connects that to Jesus' prayer in John 17.
Exactly. That prayer where Jesus emphasizes the deep interdependence between him and the Father, that's shown as a key example of this divine cooperation, working together.
And then it brings in some powerful biblical examples of mission happening in community. The tabernacle one really stood out.
Oh, yeah. Exodus 35 and 36. It's fantastic. God calls people to bring their specific skills, their materials, gold, fabrics, the craftsmanship of Bezalel.
Right, Dazzler.
His expertise was vital, sure, but it's totally dependent on everyone else's diverse gifts. The key takeaway is that essentiality of different contributions.
So God's dwelling place was built collectively.
Precisely. Underscoring the power of a varied team.
And then Nehemiah's wall. I know the story, but the documents take on it.
What's highlighted there in Nehemiah 2-6 is how different families, different groups, took ownership of specific sections of that wall.
Ah, okay. So each bit represented their investment.
Exactly. It shows how shared ownership, shared accountability was crucial. Protecting the vision, sustaining it, shared responsibility gets the big goal done.
And Paul and Barnabas, obviously, they weren't lone rangers.
Not at all. Acts 13:14, you see them as a team, sure, but they're also backed by this broader network. House churches, local congregations, other workers like John Mark.
So there's a whole ecosystem supporting them.
Absolutely. Their journeys really emphasize that ministry flourishes best with shared responsibility and that supportive community around the leaders. An ecosystem is a great word for it.
Okay, this leads right into some core principles the document lays out for this team-based calling. First is shared stewardship, using that Greek word, synergos.
Synergos, yeah. It means coworker. The idea is mission isn't solo, it's collaborative. Everyone brings unique gifts.
Like weaving together different threads.
Exactly. When those diverse contributions come together, you get something complete, something beautiful. It means supporters aren't just passive givers. They're active participants.
Then there's mutual accountability. It references Proverbs, iron sharpens iron. What's the core idea?
Well, it means the team isn't just a cheerleading squad. They play a vital role in, giving constructive feedback sometimes. Encouragement, prayer support, sure, but also helping keep the vision aligned, offering wise counsel.
So encouragement and accountability, both sides of the coin.
Right.
And the third principle moves beyond just money holistic investment. What does that cover?
Yeah, it's crucial. Building a strong team isn't just about the finances. It's inviting people to invest in all sorts of ways. Prayer warriors engaging spiritually, mentors offering guidance, logistical folks handling practical stuff, vision carriers championing the work. Recognizing support comes in many forms.
Okay, the document then uses this really helpful image, the tapestry metaphor. Can you unpack that?
Sure. Imagine your calling, your mission as this big, complex tapestry. No single thread shows the whole picture, right? It's only when all the different threads, different types of support are woven together that you see the full design, the strength, the beauty.
So like prayer warriors are maybe the strong, unseen threads holding it together.
That's a great way to think about it, foundational strength.
And what are some of the other threads mentioned?
Well, you've got prayers and intercession, obviously, then financial partners providing resources, moral and emotional allies, friends, mentors offering encouragement, and practical facilitators, the admin folks, tech support, event helpers, all essential threads.
And it says, just like a real tapestry needs careful design, a support network needs strategic cultivation. I like that phrase.
Me too. It implies intention, care.
So how do we actually build this team according to the source?
It outlines some key steps. Starts with discernment of roles, really praying, clarifying what your ministry needs, more prayer, help with specific projects, a discipleship focus.
Gotta know what you're building first.
Exactly. Then comes casting the vision. And it's not just stating facts.
Needs to connect deeper.
Absolutely. Yeah. Storytelling is key here. Describe not just what you do, but why it matters. Eternally. What's the deeper impact? Share those stories.
Makes sense. Next is invitation and on-ramp. Needs to be clear how people can get involved.
Right. Concrete ways to participate. Not just support us, but maybe join our monthly prayer call, or partner financially at X level, or volunteer for this project. Make the yes easy. Clear steps.
And finally, infrastructure and tools. The practical systems.
Yeah, think newsletters, personal check-ins, maybe shared prayer calendars, simple communication tools. Things that keep everyone informed, engaged, feeling valued, part of the team.
Okay, building is one thing, but nurturing the team, the document really stresses that. Long-term cultivation.
That's right. It suggests setting up rhythms of connection, regular touch points, quarterly updates, prayer calls, maybe occasional gatherings. Consistency turns one-timers into long-term partners.
I also like the idea of spiritual formation together, more than just the practical stuff.
Yeah, offering maybe short devotions or reflections that tie your ministry context to bigger biblical themes. It invites partners into the spiritual core, deepens their connection.
And acknowledging people's contributions.
Right.
Recognition and gratitude seems obvious, but vital.
Totally. A simple handwritten note, maybe public thank you where it fits, a small gesture. It reminds people their involvement is seen, valued, making a difference.
And lastly, shared reflection. It's not a one-way street.
No way. Ask for feedback. Ask for their stories. When people feel their insights matter, that they're contributing to the narrative, they get even more invested. They feel like co-authors.
The example of Sarah's church planting in East Asia really brought this home.
Yeah, her intentionality was powerful. Building that prayer consortium, starting with prayer and pizza, then pairing intercessors, launching the Supporter Spotlight newsletter.
Weaving their stories in.
Exactly. And the results? Strong prayer, finances exceeded needs, even a team ready to visit the field. It really shows this partnership approach works.
The document then broadens out, talking about the architecture of divine partnership, using this metaphor of building bridges of blessing. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a powerful reframe. It takes gathering support out of the maybe the burden category and into a sacred calling, the work of intentionally forging connections, spiritual, emotional, practical, that reflect God's relational nature.
So it's like designing a blueprint.
Kind of. It points to theological foundations like Imago Dei in community, reconciliation as bridge building, the body analogy in Romans and 1 Corinthians. You're designing the bridge of blessing, thinking about those foundational pillars first.
And it revisits some biblical models through this bridge lens, like Jesus sending the 12 out in pairs.
Right. By sending them in pairs, Jesus showed the strength in companionship, mutual encouragement, shared discernment, courage together, not a solo gig.
And Barnabas, the son of encouragement, becomes this classic bridge builder figure.
His gift for lifting others up, fostering unity, that perfectly exemplifies connecting people, enabling ministry, supporting Paul. Then John Mark shows how encouragement builds those bridges.
The early church networks, like Philippi supporting Paul, also fit this.
Definitely. Those churches weren't passive. They actively participated, giving, praying, forming this interconnected web of care, a real bridge across distances, meeting needs.
So what are the core principles for building these blessing bridges? It starts with mutual reciprocity.
Yeah, it's not just a one-way street. It's dynamic. What you give influences what you receive, not transactionally, but in terms of mutual encouragement, spiritual growth. Romans 1.11 and 12 sets that tone. Two-way blessing.
Intentional hospitality is another one. What's that look like here?
Drawing on Hebrews 13 about hospitality to strangers, it's about opening your life, your ministry, in meaningful ways. That builds trust, which is foundational for any bridge, creating space for connection.
And then crucial, transparency and authenticity.
Referencing Hebrews 12, laying aside burdens. It means being open about successes and challenges. Authenticity invites deeper partnership because people see the real picture, the vision, and the vulnerabilities.
Finally, shared vision casting. How do we do that well?
Like Nehemiah sharing his wall plans, you clearly articulate the mission, the goals, and the specific ways people can contribute their unique gifts, painting a clear picture of the journey together.
The bridge metaphor itself gets broken down. Foundational pillars, structural beams, guardrails of care. Break those down.
Okay, think pillars as your core partners, prayer champions, key financial backers, mentors. They provide stability. Beams are the systems, the regular practices, newsletters, updates, gatherings that span the gap, carry the ongoing work.
And the guardrails.
Those are the check-ins, the pastoral support, the shared celebrations. They ensure everyone traveling on the bridge feels secure, encouraged, cared for.
The source even gives 5 phases for crafting your bridge. Starts with assessment and prayerful mapping.
Right. Phase 1, identify your needs, then dedicate time to prayer. Maybe invite existing connections to pray with you over those needs. Offer insights.
Phase 2, vision articulation. Creating a bridge brief. What's that?
Basically, a concise narrative. A one-pager maybe, captures the purpose, the impact, how people can get involved, and sharing a compelling story makes it real, human.
Phase 3, invitation and on-ramp creation, making it easy to join.
Designing clear paths, a quarterly prayer guide, simple online giving, short-term projects, and using storytelling in your invites, maybe an email series revealing the mission's heart. That can be really effective.
Phase 4 is cultivation and care, the ongoing nurturing.
This is where you establish those rhythms. Monthly video updates, biannual newsletters with personal touches, occasional gatherings, celebrating small wins, answered prayers, keeps people connected.
And the final phase, evaluation and renewal. Looking back, planning ahead.
Yeah, an annual review, ideally with core partners. Assess what's working, identify gaps, then collaboratively shape the vision for next year. Keeps everyone aligned.
Sarah's story, again, her blessing cohort in Southeast Asia, really shows this bridge building.
Her journey starting small, intentionally building those anchor pillars of mentorship, the expanding beams of a wider prayer network, the guardrails of regular communication. It shows how these intentional connections work, overcoming challenges, leading to real impact.
Okay, then the focus shifts again, moving from transactional ties to sacred partnerships, introducing that word koinonia. Explain that.
Yeah, this is a big mindset shift. Moving beyond just tracking donations to seeing supporters as fellow participants, co-heirs in the work. Koinonia, it's New Testament Greek for intimate communion, shared life, mutual investment, True partnership in the gospel.
So it changes the power dynamic.
Fundamentally, it's a radical shift from that hierarchical donor-recipient model to mutual participation, shared life.
And the theological roots go back to the Trinity again.
Exactly. Father, Son, Spirit as co-workers. When Jesus sends Paul out with the blessing of James, Peter, John, it shows mission flows from that collaboration. It's an invitation for us to reflect that unity.
And reconciliation itself is framed as a collective calling.
Right. 2 Corinthians. The ministry of reconciliation isn't just the missionary's job. Both missionary and supporters share in this divine work. It's a joint effort.
The document gives some great biblical examples of this partnership. Lydia's hospitality.
Lydia wasn't just a donor opening her home. That created a vital space for rest, planning, discipleship. Her house became a launch pad. Partnership often starts with that kind of heart-level generosity, shared space.
And Phoebe, the deaconess and messenger in Romans.
Paul trusted her with his crucial letter to Rome, called her a benefactor of many. Her service shows support is way more than money. It's trust, responsibility, even spiritual authority.
And the Philippians themselves, their relationship with Paul was deep.
Their consistent support, once and again, wasn't obligation. It's genuine partnership in the gospel, a real commitment to Paul's well-being, and so to the mission.
The document contrasts this with ancient patronage systems. What's the key difference?
Well, in Greco-Roman times, patrons gave resources for loyalty, creating hierarchy. Early Christians flipped that, promoting koinonia, mutual care, partnership among equals in Christ, not top-down patronage.
And this koinonia idea impacts church health too.
Big time. If partnerships are just transactional, churches might see missionaries just as, like, service providers. But koinonia fosters shared ownership. Supporters become true stewards of the vision, the prayer, the outcomes.
And it even affects how the mission spreads.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Real partnerships don't just fund ministry. They form supporters through participation. As they pray, give, serve, they grow in faith, multiplying the impact way beyond just the dollars.
Okay, let's unpack the key principles of this partnership paradigm. Reciprocal investment, two-way street.
It's the idea that both sides invest time, prayer, money, insights, and both sides grow spiritually. A shared journey of faith and impact.
Shared ownership of vision. How does that look practically?
Instead of just presenting a finished plan, you invite partners into the ongoing story. Ask for prayer on decisions, celebrate milestones together, really acknowledge their role.
Intentional communication rhythms are vital for this koinonia. What kind of rhythms?
Moving beyond infrequent updates to maybe quarterly vision checks, not just news, but invitations to dialogue, ask questions, offer perspectives, cultivates that shared participation feel.
And finally, mutual accountability and care. How do we foster that?
The source suggests things like smaller groups, prayer circles, mentorship triads, where missionaries and supporters can encourage each other, offer support, hold each other accountable, a shared journey.
Then it gives 5 practical steps for cultivating these sacred partnerships. Starts with clarifying your shared vision, more than just a mission statement.
Yeah, it's crafting a compelling narrative. Maybe a short document outlining the theology, strategy, impact, but importantly, posing your role questions, inviting people to see themselves in the story.
Step 2, host partnership workshops. What's the benefit there?
Gathering small groups, presenting the mission interactively, answering questions honestly, praying together that can be powerful. Turns passive listeners into active co-creators.
Designing collaborative prayer rhythms sounds better than just a list of needs.
Definitely. Maybe thematic prayer focuses a month on a specific area. Partners pray with intention, share insights, answered prayers, creates real shared spiritual engagement.
Implementing two-way storytelling. Love that. How's it work?
Ask partners to share their stories, how involvement impacted them, how they see God working, then weave those narratives into your communications. Affirms it's a shared endeavor. Everyone's story matters.
Finally, celebrating and commissioning together. Why is that key?
At Big Milestones project launch, Anniversary hosts an event, virtual or real. Bless the partners as you bless the missionary. Reinforces the shared nature of every achievement.
Elena's story with her refugee ministry support cohort really brings this koinonia to life.
Her shift from just seeking donations to creating a journey cafe for vision immersion, collaborative goal-setting, story circles where supporter reflections became part of the narrative.
That led to deeper engagement.
Hugely. Prayer network grew, giving increased. Co-leaders even emerged from the partnership cohort, a tree community of shared purpose.
Okay, moving on to weaving a living tapestry of partnership, keeping engagement going beyond the initial connection.
Exactly. Back to that tapestry metaphor from Ephesians. The first ask is one thread, but every interaction after every story, prayer request, thank you weaves new threads, strengthening the whole thing.
It contrasts transactional versus transformational support again.
Yeah, transactional is like, I give, you do. Done. Transformational is we grow, we serve, we pray together. A shared journey, ongoing.
And this ongoing engagement is framed as spiritual formation for everyone.
Right. When partners get regular, meaningful insights, successes, and challenges, it builds empathy, encourages prayer, deepens their own walk with God. They're not just giving resources, they're growing spiritually alongside you.
Leads to stronger shared spiritual ownership, too.
Totally. Partners don't feel like spectators. They carry the vision, actively pray, share the joys and sorrows. They embody that Romans 12 call. Rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep.
The document details 5 pillars for the sustained care. First, rhythms of communication, more than just updates.
Yeah, moving beyond infrequent, data-heavy newsletters to more consistent heartbeat updates. Monthly reflections, answered prayers, current needs, and using different media, short audio graphics, brief videos, invites people into real-time moments.
Second pillar, authentic storytelling. What makes it authentic here?
Goes beyond just successes. Includes the how challenges, lessons learned, and the deeper why, the eternal significance, and sharing a supporter's own story of faith through their involvement. That powerfully reinforces mutual ownership.
Third is personalized pastoral care. How do we make care feel personal?
Making time for individual prayer calls, praying for their needs, sending handwritten notes for birthdays, life events shows you see them as people, not just supporters.
Fourth, invitation to participate beyond just money. Like what?
Offering micro-engagements, short online surveys for input, local mission activities, virtual prayer gatherings. Lets partners move from passive observers to active participants.
And finally, mutual feedback loops, crucial for ongoing engagement.
Intentionally inviting core partners to reflect on the journey, share joys and challenges, even help shape the path forward. Letting partners help prioritize prayer focuses or give input on strategy reinforces their stake.
Maria's story from Central America really illustrated these pillars.
Her commitment, those personal kitchen table calls, that unscripted, heartfelt Story Threads newsletter, the immersive living canvas retreats shows how caring for people individually, not transactionally, builds a vibrant, lasting community.
Okay, then we get into the anatomy of partnership, this layered vision. Core, supplemental, peripheral partners. Really helpful framework.
It is. Moves beyond just a list to a more strategic, holistic view, like a living organism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Core partners are vital organs, supplemental are supporting tissues, peripheral are outer connections, God's design for community.
Let's start with the vital organs core partners. Who are they?
The essential lifeblood, closest, most consistent prayer supporters, foundational financial givers who commit regularly, maybe a few trusted mentors or pastoral advisors who really get your calling, the ones you can truly count on.
Paul in the Philippians is the go-to example here.
Exactly. Their partnership from day one, sharing in the work, and Paul's personal care that's deep, sustained, mutual investment. Core partnership. And Elijah and the widow at Zarephath, her crucial support even in scarcity shows that profound, sacrificial core relationship.
What are the key principles of core partnerships? What makes them vital?
Mutual vulnerability is huge. You can share hopes and fears honestly. Sustained investment, consistent commitment over time through seasons, and often invaluable strategic counsel, wise guidance from those who deeply understand you and the ministry.
How do we practically identify and cultivate them?
Start with a spiritual audit. Reflect on who's already closest, most trusted. Then, a personal, specific invitation to deeper partnership. Establish intimate rhythms, maybe monthly one-on-ones for prayer, vision sharing, maybe even co-create a simple partnership covenant, articulating commitments. Review it periodically.
Okay, moving to the supporting tissues, supplemental partners. Who fits here?
These groups provide flexible strength. Church small groups praying for you, workplace prayer circles, family offering practical help, people connected through shared interests or life stages. The connective muscle.
Barnabas supporting John Mark, Aquila and Priscilla's home as a hub, those illustrate this.
Yeah. Barnabas championing John Mark shows how these secondary relationships bring renewal, second chances. Aquila and Priscilla's household becoming a center for encouragement, training, support shows the power of these community connections.
What defines supplemental partners? What do they offer?
Often, valuable flexibility, stepping in for seasonal needs or short projects. Frequently bring unique, skill-based gifts, specific talents filling gaps. And they can be network multipliers, connecting you to wider circles.
How do we effectively engage them? Best approach.
Map your ministry's skill needs first. Then design short-term defined micro-projects, like 2-3-month gigs with clear goals. Empower ownership, clear briefs up front, thoughtful debriefs afterward. Makes them feel valued, effective.
Finally, the outer connections, peripheral partners. Extending reach.
Exactly. Like the nervous system. Church staff offering occasional prayer, social media followers engaging, neighboring congregations, distant individuals, new connections. Their touch points might be less frequent, but collectively they're vital for sensing opportunities, amplifying your message, building awareness.
Lydia's hospitality network, the broader Corinthian fellowship, those are examples.
Right. Lydia opening her network shows how a wider circle responds and supports the gospel spread. The diverse ways Corinthians contributed, even beyond Paul's team, show how a broader fellowship extends reach.
Key principles for engaging peripheral partners.
Awareness and advocacy, keeping the mission visible, inspiring them to share. Their engagement is often dynamic, ebbing and flowing. And they can become evangelistic ambassadors, sharing your vision with people you'd never reach directly.
How do we connect without overwhelming them?
Build low-barrier touchpoints. Monthly short snapshots, brief story, prayer request, easy to share. Use social media brief videos, one-click options to learn more. And respect their rhythm limit. Big asks. Honor their level of involvement.
The Coastal Relief Network's Monsoon Appeal story shows the power of this ripple effect.
Their short, compelling video, strategic tagging, led to a huge response. New congregations joined, youth groups adopted projects. Shows how lighter touches can lead to substantial collaboration when the message hits home.
The document then beautifully ties it all together. The interconnected church, every supporter vital. Financial support as nourishment, prayer as breath, encouragement as sinews. Brings that tapestry full circle.
It does. Cultivating these layers, core, supplemental, peripheral, mirrors God's design for community, ensures resilience, adaptability, flourishing. No part is insignificant.
Okay, then it really drills down into each layer, starting with the heartbeat of your mission, those core partners, reiterating how vital they are.
Yes, emphasizing they're not just a network, but the life support systems God ordained. The foundation is that Trinitarian fellowship, again, the pattern for our partnerships.
Defines them again. Closest prayer warriors, foundational financiers, trusted mentors advocates, revisits Philippians' heartfelt investment, and the widow's sacrifice as examples of vulnerability and commitment.
Right, and elaborates the core principles. Mutual vulnerability for trust, sustained investment for impact, strategic counsels from those who get it.
And gives more specific pathways. That spiritual audit, the personal invitation, monthly one-on-ones, shared spiritual practices, maybe drafting core commitments, a co-created covenant, even reviewing it.
The story of David and his inner circle during that clinic crisis in Central Asia, it vividly shows the resilience, care, and commitment these core partnerships offer in tough times.
Next, a closer look at the muscular web supplemental partners. Flexible, strong connective tissues.
The theology is God's body built in layers, 1 Corinthians 12, reflecting God's diverse economy where every gift matters.
Defines them more. Seasonal stewards, skill specialists, community catalysts, revisits Barnabas, John, Mark, and Aquila, Priscilla as hubs.
Emphasizes flexibility, skill-based gifts, network multiplication, and practical steps. Map skills needed, design those micro-projects, 2 to 3 month gigs, empower ownership with clear briefs and debriefs.
Emma's relief team cohort activated during that flood in South Asia. Powerful example of agility.
Totally shows their quick response and the impact of leveraging specific skills and resources strategically in urgent situations.
Then the nervous system, peripheral partners. Extending reach, providing vital signals.
Define further, casual prayers givers, digital neighbors, adjacent networks, merging prospects. Revisits Lydia's hospitality web and the Corinthian ripple effect.
Highlights principles. Awareness advocacy, dynamic engagement, evangelistic ambassadors.
Discusses origins and creation's distributed design, like pollinators, covenantal expansion, Levites serving the wider community, and implications for mission resilience and growth.
More practical steps. Low barrier touch points, monthly snapshots, leveraging social platforms, brief videos, photojournals, one-click invites, respecting their rhythm, limit asks, honor silence.
That Coastal Relief Network story, again, shows the ripple effect, the reach of these wider connections.
Then it beautifully synthesizes everything in weaving divine community into mission the theological tapestry. Underscores the interconnected body, every supporter vital.
Foundation in 1 Corinthians 12, one body, many parts. Interdependence, Reciprocal participation, like Paul and Philippi.
Maps the tapestry again. Finance as oxygen nourishment, prayer as life-blood breath, encouragement as sinews nerves.
Discusses origins, creation's communal pattern, incarnation as model, covenantal mutuality, implications, church maturity, mission resilience, global synergy.
Practical applications. Articulate the body metaphor to partners. Establish rhythms of mutual care. Financial pulse checks, prayer respiration rounds, encouragement neural pathways, forge covenant commitments, activate layered networks.
Really drives home that mission isn't solo. It's God's vision for a unified, collaborative body working together.
The document then shifts to the sacred art of partner care cultivating connection, framing it as shepherding hearts into lifelong fellowship.
Theological foundations. Covenantal relationship, responsible stewardship, Matthew 25, spiritual communion, 1 Cor 10.
Details 6 best practices. First, consistent and transparent communication. More than frequency, it's open dialogue.
Jeremiah's letters to exiles model this candid yet hopeful. Practical tips. Story-esque updates, honest reflections, successes and setbacks, clear vision forward.
Second, personalization. Jesus calling disciples by name shows its significance.
Paul's personal references too. Practical tips. Segment lists. Acknowledge interest contributions. Remember milestones, birthdays, anniversaries.
Third, gratitude and acknowledgement. The Psalms are full of thanks.
Sincere acknowledgement turns a gift into dialogue. Practical tips. Handwritten notes, personal calls, small, thoughtful tokens.
Fourth, opportunities for deeper engagement, like Jesus inviting the 70.
Short-term engagements spark ownership. Ideas. Virtual prayer gatherings, short-term teams, special events for first-hand experience.
Fifth, financial accountability. Acts 6 sets the precedent.
Transparency builds trust. Practical tips. Annual stewardship reports, budget breakdowns, maybe third-party audits.
Sixth, active listening. James 1.19, quick to hear.
Valuing partner feedback enriches strategy, fosters collaboration, ideas, surveys, partner roundtables, responsive follow-up.
And it stresses integrating all these into a holistic rhythm.
It's about intentionally shepherding hearts into a shared journey of faith and purpose, reflecting Christ's care.
Next section. The rhythm of relationship communication is key, elevating it beyond just info exchange.
Beautifully put. Nourishment for kingdom work. God is the first communicator. More than updates, it's worship, stewardship of people, disciple-making.
Underscores consistency and intentionality, like Paul's connection with churches.
Practical ideas. Monthly updates like letters to friends, quarterly vision windows for broader perspective, spontaneous gratitude touchpoints, warns against pitfalls, only asking when needing something, generic updates, oversharing, overselling.
Frames communication as kingdom culture, fostering family, nurturing relationships, extending invitation.
Ultimately, authentic communication rooted in vision forms people spiritually, making us living epistles.
Then, from theory to practice, a year of partnership, framing it as a spiritual rhythm, a sacred liturgy.
Highlights theology of time, rhythm in the kingdom, creation feasts, Psalm 90. Partnership is sacred trust, stewardship.
Gives a blueprint, a year of intentionality, quarterly engagements, ministry updates, story stat, prayer point, multimedia, personal check-ins with core partners.
Semi-annual, impact report. Outcomes, testimonials, financials, state of the ministry, webinar, live stream, interactive.
Annual, thank you gifts notes, handwritten, personal, annual vision casting report, recap, goals, opportunities.
Highlights the fruits. Trust deepens, prayer multiplies, generosity grows, community strengthens, Galatians 6.9. Encourages making rhythms personal, infused with God's breath spiritual practice, incarnational encouragement.
Next, sacred cadence. The spiritual power of a partner care calendar, not just organization, but spiritual hospitality, reflecting God's rhythm.
Biblical foundations. Rhythmic relationship as divine design. Genesis, Jewish calendar, Ecclesiastes 3, Paul's letters.
Walks through a month-by-month spiritual architecture, liturgical moments.
January. Year-end report, thank you. Transparency, gratitude as worship. March. Handwritten notes, decor, ministry of remembering. April. Prayer focus, intercession as invitation. June, mid-year update, Ebenezer's of encouragement. August, behind the scenes, humanity the missionary. October, vision casting, prophetic partnership. December, holiday greeting, year-end appeal, sacred invitation to continue.
Emphasizes rhythm driven by relationship, not routine. Spiritual formation.
Yeah, seeing it as a framework for consistent encouragement, a template for ongoing discipleship.
Which leads right into sacred stewardship and Season A biblical vision for a partner care calendar. deepening that idea.
Revisits God's rhythm of faithfulness throughout Scripture creation, Sabbath, covenant, feasts, incarnation, Paul's pastoral rhythm.
Guides through another month-by-month cycle, highlighting deeper theological intent.
Like January as celebration as witness, March as ministry of remembrance, October as prophetic invitation.
Presents the calendar as a tool that actively disciples creating relational altars, touch points of trust, sacred echoes.
Exactly. Cultivating mutual care and shared purpose reflecting the gospel's heart.
Then shares Sarah's story again, relational stewardship and the gospel of connection, her success through covenantal communication, boosting retention.
Underscores relationship as ministry's bedrock, drawing parallels throughout Scripture. Genesis, Abraham, Moses, David, John 1.2.8, Paul's ecosystems.
Details Sarah's shift from transaction to transformation, emphasizing presence over frequency.
Outlines her methods.
Yeah.
Quarterly updates, stories, answered prayers, photos, videos, handwritten notes, personal acknowledgement, biannual video calls, seeing faces.
The results retention reflecting relationships speak volumes.
Highlights deeper implications. Gospel ethos of connection, mirroring God's Trinitarian nature. Offers a framework. Walk in Sarah's footsteps. Prioritize presence over perfection.
Finally, navigating the nuances of partnership, avoiding pitfalls. Embodying gospel-rooted partnership.
Warns against the one-size-fits-all trap. 1 Corinthians 12, diversity, contextual care like Jesus. Urges against neglecting lapsed partners. Matt 18, pastoral care, redemptive reconnection. Addresses the transparency paradox. Honesty with hope, not despair dumping. 2 Corinthians 1.8-9. Cautions against the transaction mindset, people as partners, not pockets. John 15.15. Addresses entitlement erosion. Ingratitude versus gratitude as worship, Luke 17.12.
Concludes emphasizing cultivating the garden of gospel partnership, theological reality, shepherding hearts, intentional presence.
It's about shepherding hearts entrusted to our care, communicating relationally, pastorally, hopefully.
The final section revisits the sacred rhythm of relationship cultivating kingdom partnership. Communication as communion, mirroring God's rhythms.
Moves beyond transactions to the theology of partnership. Phil 1.3-5, participating together, building a bridge.
Offers practical tools. The cadence planner. Email, SMS, letter rhythm for core, occasional lapsed partners, video messages calls for core.
Champions gratitude in action with the partner appreciation package. Note, gift, prayer card, personalized video, tangible, personal, thoughtful, quarterly rhythm, like Luke 17.
Underscores personalization, from broad to deep. Segmenting partners, relationship depth, giving patterns, preferences, using personalization prompts for core partners.
Ultimately, building a strong, enduring bridge of partnership rooted in shared purpose, sustained by mutual encouragement.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, the main takeaway seems really clear. Genuine impact, lasting sustainability. It hinges on shifting our whole approach.
Definitely. Moving away from just transactional fundraising and really truly prioritizing building meaningful partnerships.
Partnerships that are rooted in, consistent, authentic communication.
A shared vision that everyone buys into and genuine ongoing care for the actual people involved. Seeing them and valuing them as co-laborers, not just funding sources.
And for you, our listener, grabbing hold of these principles, it really opens the door to cultivating a support ecosystem that's resilient, that thrives.
Yeah, an environment where everyone feels genuinely valued, engaged, truly part of the mission. Co-laborers working together for something significant.
Which leads us to maybe a final thought for you to chew on.
Okay.
Thinking about everything we've dug into today, which specific principle or maybe practical step really hits home for you right now in your situation?
Good question.
And how might you take just that first small step to implement it? Remembering, as the source suggests, that building these connections actually mirrors a core part of God's own relational nature, his desire for community.
That's a powerful thought to end on.
Thank you for taking this deep dive with us today. We really hope it's given you some valuable insights and practical things to think about.